All right, everybody, we are back. I say we are back. Vickey Barron is back on the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. We're going to talk today about marketing and really making special gifts for your clients. But first, Vickey, thank you so much for coming back on.
Oh, you are welcome. And thank you for allowing me to come back on. We have fun. Both of us love giving back to agents, and it's always good to share. And I'm a big believer in sharing, and I learn a lot from other agents. So why not give back at the same time?
Exactly. And this comes to giving back to your clients. And we're taking this from you. Basically have a presentation you give for REBNY, the real estate New York.
Board of New York.
I don't know what they call it there.
Yeah, Real Estate Board of New York.
And it's a presentation on it's your creative marketing toolkit. So since our last episode, we had so much fun. I mean, we talked about, my team is sick of hearing about you, except they're quoting you now too. But we talked about breaking price records, how you look at properties, the fun, the listing presentations. It's really a conversation. I mean, everybody, if you haven't listened to Vickey's episode that we came on last, I actually need to look up the episode number, but it was a riot. Like, I think I was crying maybe the whole time that we were on the interview, because it was so many great stories. And I'm going to pull that up and then we're going to get started on this. It was episode 242, and it was how to learn, grow, and crush it, because that's what you do.
Thank you.
So give us a little bit as we get started today we're going to talk about like giving special gifts to clients and all of your creativity, but you've come up with a formula so that you don't really have to be creative to do some really special creative things for your clients that they remember you from. But how did this all evolve?
So how it evolved is years ago. Remember that when I came to New York, I was from California. I did not have a relative, a friend. I didn't know anybody. And to this day, my contact list is apparently, I'm told, much smaller than one would think. But everyone on that contact list, they hear from me consistently. It's like if I sell an apartment to you or a house or help you buy one, it's like I'm there for life. So I hope you like me, because I don't go away. And they have statistics. I think it's 90% of people say they would hire the agent again if you ask them within the first 30 days of the transaction, whether they buy or sell. But only 12% do. And the real question is, agents do not stay in contact with the client. Once the transaction's done, they get their check, they close, and on they go, on to the next deal. And they don't really take the time to stay in contact. What fascinated me is a lot of agents spend a lot of time and money mailing to buildings and neighborhoods and farming, but they don't take the time to actually touch the people that trusted in them to buy and sell with them in the first place. So it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. And my thought was, first of all, when I meet someone, and because I didn't know anyone, each person was the person of interest to me, because I was fascinated being new in the business and meeting them, that I really listened to them. So I'd pay attention if they drank coffee or tea and not coffee. Well, you don't go get them a coffee gift, right? If they have pets, take the time to write the pet's name down, make a note of that. If they talk about, I had a woman that was a famous pianist. And I was in a store one day and I found a beautiful scarf that had piano keys all on the edge of the scarf. It was spectacular. And I thought, I'm buying that for her. So I just bought it, put a note on it, and sent it to her and said, I couldn't help myself. I thought of you when I saw this. I hope all is going well. And it's things like that. When I also was new, I went into a stationery store on Park Avenue in Manhattan, and I happen to love paper and textile. So this paper was just beautiful, but very expensive. And I didn't have the budget to buy all my customers stationery. So I picked up 5 gift groupings of the stationery. And then I went back to the office, went through the contacts. Who do I see in here that would really appreciate? Who's the person that would write that handwritten note? And then I just wrapped it up and sent a note and said, I was in the store. I was losing my mind. It was beautiful. I bought myself a set and I thought of you. I hope you enjoy it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so thoughtful. So it's just throughout my career, I've done this. By the way, it'll shock you, perhaps, shocks a lot of agents. I do not give closing gifts. I just feel
We
awkward.
talked about that.
Yeah, I don't do it. So, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you do it, it works for you. But what I do is I do this other stuff and connect with them in, unusual ways, but meaningful ways. And they know it's coming from my heart, and they know that I'm thinking of them, and they just respond really well to it. It's worked well for me. And my referral business is 96%. And I mean, sometimes I think I'm getting lazy because I just wait for the phone to ring, but fortunately it rings. Or I get an email, but they're remembering me. And then they do the legwork, because then they talk about it and they talk about me, and then they refer me.
Well, you've given them something, like, it's like you make that memory, you kind of put that memory print on them when you do something that specific and that personal and that special, that it's like remembering someone's name. It's just music to them, and it makes them realize, like, you're really thinking about me, you really care about me, which is so huge for our clients in this business to know, believe, and understand that. And by the way, it's important for us to actually do that so that it's authentic. So, but now so when you're a new agent, it's obvious. So now you've been in the business, is it 20 years or how many years?
Yeah, 21 years.
21 years. And you're still doing it. And you've even got a formula that's beautiful on how to do it. But how do you, and I don't know that you're a big CRM person.
No. So I should be, and I'm trying to be, but I'm still old fashioned, where a lot of it, is in my head and in a notebook, and I write little notes, and, I've got like it's just dated, but I'm with Compass, and they're all about technology. So they're going to yell at me if they see this, because
right.
they have a great CRM, but guys, I promise you, I will get there one day. I will too be able to whip out that CRM.
And you're still selling that, right? And you're still selling the heck out of real estate. So hey, but the key is, I think the message is 2 things. We're going to talk about, how to come up with really creative special gifts, some really simple, straightforward formulas that you've kind of evolved because you have gotten your sphere. And I think this is relevant. You've really focused on a core group of people as opposed to trying to please everybody all the time.
Correct.
And then in serving those people, the group has probably gotten significantly bigger. So how you do that in a way where you remember the right people and people aren't forgotten.
Correct. And during the pandemic, I spent a good chunk of my day. They were basically calling me, and I was playing therapist, calming them down, answering their questions. But they felt comfortable just to call. And, they weren't thinking of buying or selling. They were just locked down like the rest of us. Yeah. But they pick up the phone and say, Vickey, what are you seeing? How are you doing? How's your family? And I once had this, he was a pretty big deal at Goldman Sachs. And I'll never forget it. I was only maybe 5 years in the business. And he said, You know what the difference is of you and a lot of agents I've met? I said, what? He said, you are a real person. Like, I feel like I feel like when I'm with you, you're this person that happens to sell real estate. And I don't feel like I'm with a salesperson. I feel like I'm with a person, and you put a real personal touch on it. And that just makes the difference.
Like, this is my favorite, quoting Vickey Barron. The difference between me and them being funny, but I'm a real person. like that's the thing, that people don't see real estate agents. They really don't. Like, to your point, what you just said was, hey, Vickey, you know what I like about you as a real estate agent? You're a real person, as if the rest of us aren't. But we know people don't always see us as real people, but maybe because we're not acting like real people.
Right. You know why? You know what I've noticed? I'm not kidding. There are people that, you have children. So when the PTA moms, like, I'll never forget it. When my children were little, I'd go to the meetings and they'd get up and they'd talk in this weird voice. Like I called it the PTA voice, like, hi, everyone. And today, I'm like, why are you talking like that? It's like, we're adults. It's not like you're talking to, kindergartens. They would go in this weird voice. And then waiters sometimes too, waitresses, they come, hi. It's like, they're not their real voice. Why don't you just say, hi, would you like a tuna melt or a burger? I mean, why are they going into some weird voice? So I think it is true that, and those of you on the call that have studied any theater or acting, being real, I studied theater for years, and I'll never forget, a teacher said to me, we were watching, everyone was getting up and the line was, I love you, right? Well, for some reason, when you see that in print, you want to go into some weird, like, I love you. But sometimes you just say, hey, okay, I'll see you at 3, love you. It's not some weird voice. Like, just, if you're playing an attorney, doesn't mean you have to change your voice. It can be you. So a real estate agent should just be authentic and real without turning into a salesperson that they read in some book that they're supposed to act a certain way. This has nothing to do with our topic, by the way. Do you understand what we just did?
It does, and we'll get there. But people listening, and maybe we'll but to your point, a tip for everybody: theater, take a class in acting. It's the best sales class ever. I paid like $25 to take an acting class, and this has been when I started doing the podcast stuff.
Yeah.
I could not believe. I was like, this is the same stuff as sales, but a lot less expensive and a lot better because they make you truly role play.
Yes.
And it's really about like finding your authentic self and pulling it out of you as opposed to all that other stuff. And that's what sales is.
Yes. And they teach you to listen and put the attention on the other person. I'll never forget an exercise where 2 of us were up in front of the class and we were back to back. And the professor said, Vickey, what color shirt does Steve have on? Is he wearing a tie or no tie? Does he have any freckles or moles on his face? What color are his eyes? Are his teeth straight or crooked? And, we were just looking face to face for 15 minutes. But the problem is you're not really looking at them because in your head, you're going through your lines of and I see agents do this, like they go through their presentation on a pitch and they're so worried about like giving the stats of their company and them, and they're not even engaged in listening to the client. They're not, they don't even see them.
And the funny thing is, no, go ahead. So the
point of the gifts is if you see the client, then you can think of them and what are you buying them or sending them, or here you go, a card. If you're going to give a holiday card or a birthday card to a client, don't go buy a box of 100 birthday cards because in our region, the Upper East Side, that card is going to look different than the Village, right? Like the Village, you might send Andy Warhol, and Upper East Side, it may be an embossed, more elegant. Like, know your client, and it doesn't mean that someone on the Upper East Side can't like Andy Warhol and vice versa. But what I'm trying to say is understand, are they the Andy Warhol or are they the, gold foil embossed person? Who are they?
Well, the gifts are a reinforcement. The thing I always say when I'm coaching on the show that comes out is the more, for whatever it's worth, the more money they have, the more relevant this becomes, the more exaggerated it becomes. The biggest thing on a client's mind is, can I trust you? And to answer that question, whether they know it or not, they're asking themselves, can I trust you? And what's answering that question is, number one, do you know your stuff? Which that's a different avenue. But number two, into what we're talking about today is, are you actually listening to me? That is the most important thing. Are you listening? And people don't know how to listen.
Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you care about me? That's what they're thinking.
And this reinforces it. So now we're going to talk about it.
Okay, good.
And you called it the creative marketing. I'm actually cheating and looking at it. And everyone on the blog post, which will be Vickey Barron 2, because this is episode number 2 with you, .JereMetcalfPodcast.com. We will have a link to your entire marketing portfolio for everyone. And obviously you just reach out to Vickey if you've got questions. But it's your creative marketing toolkit. And overall, you give this to Rebney, and it's talking about a lot or a little bit of what we talked about in the importance of giving. But let's talk about, just for fun, we called this page 13 earlier, but it's that closing anniversary.
Yes.
And you said you don't give closing gifts, but you do a closing anniversary gift.
Right. What I do is one day I decided, and this is something everyone on the call, any agent, I don't care if you've been in the business 30 years or 3 minutes. Well, not 3 minutes, because you wouldn't have sold someone something in 3 minutes. But anyone that go back to your desk or your living room or wherever you're working from these days, and go through your list and write down the date that everyone closed, everyone that bought something. You wouldn't send it if they
Or if you have a good CRM and a pipeline, all you have to do is click a button.
Push a button. Correct. See how easy that'll be?
See, in my calendar, I type a search button, I type closing date, and the list comes up.
Yes.
So we'll do an interview later on how to do that.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you, I came up with this idea about 7 years ago. And I thought, Hallmark does not, by the way, have an anniversary card for a house or an apartment. Does not exist. If anyone wants to start that business, it does not exist. So I decided that I was going to send a card to everyone that bought something on that date. So what I did, it was my way of doing it. I cut out 1 million different numbers, and I think we have an image we can share. Can we share with them live now? Can we put it up?
Yes. Yeah, we actually will do that. I'm going to make it pretty-ish so they can see it a little better. But everybody, for those of you, now but maybe this may change when we actually start marketing.
Oh, because they may be listening.
When we actually start advertising this podcast. But in the meantime, you can see now. Can you see? I just put on the screen the closing anniversary gift here, everybody.
So what I did is I cut out numbers from magazines, and then I would put the date. If it was February the 13th, 2009, and then it kind of looked like a ransom note. So then on the inside, can you blow that up and I'll actually read it?
Yes, I will. So again, all of you who are listening, because most of our listeners listen, unless we get a big YouTube presence by now, we do have a few hundred subscribers, but make sure you go to Vickey, Vickey, Barron, Barron 2, like the number, .JereMetcalfPodcast.com. And all of this will be there on video. And I think that's as big as it will get. It will be there on video and on,
so if I'll go off memory, but it says something like, this is not a ransom note. This is actually an anniversary card for you and your apartment, that is. And I cannot believe, what does it say here? Yeah. My thought is that buying an apartment in New York City is such a big deal that I believe it warrants a card. You two are so great, and I had a part in bringing you together, and that just feels good. So here's to the future, Vickey. And sometimes I change it up. Sometimes I'll write on the bottom, I hope the two of you are as happy today as you were 7 years ago when you met. And I hope you're happy together for many years to come. Now, the very important part there is you notice that there is no free market analysis. Call me if you'd like me to tell you what your apartment is worth today, or if you know anyone, a compliment is a referral. I cannot stress that you cannot add anything like that on this. It would be like sending your mother a birthday card and then saying, by the way, there's some shoes I want at Bloomingdale's. I mean, it would just kind of ruin it. So when you send something, it has to be a pure, I'm thinking of you, a gift, a card, a thought, and no sales tagline at all.
Agree.
Now, the beauty is, one day I walked in someone's apartment and she's relocating. And I said, remind me when you bought this. She walked to her bookcase and she had this card up on display with her family photos and said, oh, here. Yeah, she said, here, I bought it, March the 11th, 2007. And there she had it, like sitting up on the bookcase. So I guess I've been doing this longer than 7 years. I just told a big fat lie because look at that. Here's my sample. It was 2009. So how long have I been doing that?
It may be 2022 when this episode comes out too. So
yes,
right,
it's been
because
a
we've
while.
got a few recorded right now. Right, but anyway, we're talking like almost 12 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, and those that are listening, I put their floor plan on the card. So whatever they bought, like the floor plan, I think is, and look, if you can do
love
this,
that.
yeah, you can do this.
This was actually almost 30 years ago. Just anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you can do this anyway. And if you don't want to make a card, then just go buy a generic card, but just write inside the card and write the date on there. I can't believe
That's
it's been
awesome.
6 years. I can't believe it's been 11 years. Whatever it's been, it's not too late. My mother always taught me it's never too late to send a thank you note. So if you want to just send them a nice note, but the fact that you're remembering the day they bought the apartment, and I love just saying, bringing the two of you together. It's worked really well.
That's incredible. So basically, tip number 1 today by Vickey Barron is when you're giving gifts, actually, this is a few, make them special. But I guess it would be approach number 1 is the closing anniversary gift. And get creative. You basically have, like, I'm going to share the screen one more time to reiterate what it is you do. And then we're going to go to some other cool ideas that you have and share with clients. So this one is.
Yeah, this is the anniversary.
This is basically, you just made it really cute and artsy with a little gift box. And inside the gift box, you've got the date on one side and then a cute anniversary note. And it says, this is not a ransom note. It's an anniversary card for you and your apartment. That is. My thought is that buying an apartment in New York City is such a big deal. I believe it warrants a card. You two are so great. And I had a part in bringing you together. And that just feels good. Here's to the future, Vickey. And then on the outside, it's got a cute little key and a tag. And what does the tag say? Is that the address or is that the?
I don't remember. I can't see it on here.
August 14th. So that must be like something else from another one.
Yeah, that was from a different one. But yeah, so that's what I mean. You can do, I gave different samples of what you can send. And it doesn't matter it does matter what it looks like. I take that back. That's like everyone on my team would die if they heard me say it doesn't matter what it looks like, because I can have a $20 million deal blow apart and I'm as calm as can be. But if I walk in and that stamp is crooked on the card, I will lose my mind, because that I can control. So how it looks is very important to me.
Oh, what a great point though. I can keep my cool if a huge deal falls apart, because it is what it is, but get the freaking stamp straight, because you can control that.
Yes.
And when you control the little things, it's the little thing. It's amazing the outcome of the big things that we thought were actually out of our control.
Correct.
To your point. All right. So tell us a little. I love the closing anniversary. I mean, that is so simple. You can do it as quickly or as creatively as you want. And the next one that we had and we were going to talk about was, we were talking about, I think you give kind of surprise gifts, and we were going to talk about some ideas that you gave. Here's the question, because I happen to know too much up front. Mm-hmm. You've got a formula where you talk about every month, for every month, here's some gift ideas for this month, because to reiterate what you do, a lot of our listeners are CRMs and systems people. Whether you are or not, this is a system you can easily implement, however advanced or simple you are. Is for every month you have ideas you give yourself to decide who to give to. And then you do write it down and track it. So you're giving, 3 or 4 gifts a year and not one every week, like a creepy stalker.
Yeah, you have to, the reason I have ideas and suggestions for each month, because you may be busy in February So maybe, you're not going to get something out, but in March or April, you can get something out. So I give different ideas for different months. And also keep in mind, your obvious holidays are obvious, but it doesn't have to be a holiday. Again, that stationery was on a Tuesday in not a holiday month. I walked in the store, fell in love with it, and off it went. The scarf with the piano keys was not a holiday month. So that works as well. But if you're going to be giving, keep notes on who you're sending what to, because you cannot give too often, because that actually would look weird. That'd be crazy. If you got something every month, they'd wonder how you had time to sell real estate. So you look like a shopper.
Right. And to your point, all right, which might not be good if you're supposed to be a good real estate agent. So to your point too, and some people caught this and some people may not have, is think about that. Like it doesn't have to, and perhaps it should not be a holiday gift, because when it's out of the blue and it's spontaneous, it's like the book Giftology. It talks about this a little bit, but when it's out of the blue and spontaneous, that's when people, first of all, it's so much fun. Like that's when I like I'm such the, like, give me a gift, don't give me a gift. I'm fine. And so I have to remind myself I should still give. But when I give something I find that's like different, out of the blue, like I get so much joy, and so does the recipient.
Yes.
On a show, I think 2 episodes ago, one of our guests was like, you know what? Just remember this. If you're not having fun and you're not happy, this is just not going to work for you.
Correct.
So whether it's this part, just doing this, not like we need to convince anybody, but when it really works, remember, this isn't just one more system. This is a part of like, investing in our clients and enjoying what we do. Well,
and that you had asked earlier, I started doing this early on because I truly do enjoy it. I love gifting and giving someone something that is meaningful to them. So that's why the closing gifts, like some people, yes, my life would be a lot easier if I just went and bought 100 Tiffany bowls or keychains and just sent them all out. But there's fun in the hunt for me. And I love supporting artists. So I think we have one image. I think it's
we
on.
We do. Right, but let me ask. I'm going to ask you a question. Two type A crazy people on an interview. Should we run through your kind of suggested gifts for each month, or should we go and do these examples first? Let's do the examples first, right?
I think, yeah, let's do the examples first. And
so here's the suggested monthly to-do list that we will go on later, just so you guys know what we're going to look at. So the next gift that you were talking about is, and this is so much fun. So I'm going to zoom this in for everybody, is you were talking about artists.
Yeah. So how this came about, I was in a store and I saw this adorable little cat, this porcelain cat. And there were several of them in different poses. All of them were one of a kind. Now, keep in mind, I am allergic to cats. I will never have a cat. I've never had a cat. But they were the cutest little, I'm like, I have to buy this cat. And then the woman who owned the store, she said, oh my gosh, my husband, Dan, made these cats. And he's just, an artist doing the cats. And I put them in the store and people have loved them. I said, love them. They're amazing. So I said, I will buy every cat you have. How many cats do you have? She said, I think she had 47 cats. Later, I'll send you the image of me in her store with all the cats on the counter. And I'm like, I'll take them all. And they were all different shapes and they were all adorable. So then I had this custom box made that said, the cat is out of the bag. We support artists. And then there's a note inside that talks about the story I'm telling you now, how I walked in, stumbled upon this artist in this little store, and I loved him so much. I just thought, I'm buying all of them. And then I went back to my list, my CRM kind of list. When I imagine CRM.
Is yours on an Excel spreadsheet or is it handwritten?
On a napkin. It's on a napkin.
I'm
And then
sorry.
I went back and I thought, you know what? All the people that have cats, and they loved it. It was so adorable. But then after that, I felt guilty because then I'm like, what about the people with the dogs? So then I went and found, I think there's on the next one,
Lord,
19.
oh, here we go. Here we go. The dogs.
Yeah, the
Okay.
dogs. So then I went and the artist wasn't making cute little dogs in porcelain. So I had to find something else. And I found this handmade peanut butter company that does dog biscuits.
Oh, love
And
this.
then I made this
Y'all have to
box
hear what's on
that
this. Yeah.
it's all about finding the right wolf. And then their little dog prints, and the note kind of talks about the company. It's a small company. They hand make their peanut butter. And so I sent out doggy biscuits.
I mean, that is incredible. So question for you, because if we did this live, I think this would be one of the questions shooting at us right now is, how do you find the time? And what if I'm not creative like you? Just read your list.
Oh, okay. So watch
Get an
this.
assistant or what? Yeah.
So no, here, all of us are out and about. Yeah, every one of us on this call has probably gone. I was just stumbling, looking for a t-shirt and walked into the store that happened to have this. It's like keeping your eyes open, your ears open, and there it was, voila. Did I think, oh, I don't even have a cat. I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to go find my people with cats a gift. I was in the store and saw this adorable cat. And I just thought, oh my gosh, people that, if I love it this much and I don't have a cat, imagine people that have cats, how much they're going to love this. So then I thought, what clients do I have that have cats? So that's how the wheels started turning. And yes, then I did go and I found a company that makes custom boxes. But you wouldn't have to do that. You could put this in a little bubble wrap and with a little note, and you could have mailed it without having a custom box made. That still would have been lovely. I think the presentation's better with the box, but you could have gotten a plain little box and put a little note and a cute little ribbon on it, and it would have had the same impact. So I didn't make the peanut butter dog biscuits. I didn't make the porcelain cat. So I'm just out and about finding things. That the stationery, I didn't make it. So those are the things. I do make a lot of things. So yes, there is a creative bone in my body and I enjoy that, but the examples I've given so far, you don't need to be creative.
Well, I think something important as well to restate your answer it's like, okay, people say they're too busy, but listening to you, it's two things to remember. Number one, however busy you are, you're not too busy to think about your clients and listen to them. And this is a great exercise to reinforce what your mindset should be anyway. And number two, you're not making this stuff. It's pretty straightforward to streamline it. It's a lot simpler than even scheduling a buyer tour.
Correct. We don't have this image, but I'll give another example that anyone could do. There was, what is that store called? I should know. Giggles, Googles, whatever. It's a child store. And
I should know.
Giggle, Google. Anyway, I was online and they had the cutest little pumpkins with a little handle made out of fabric. They were just as cute could be. I think they were maybe $13, not outrageously expensive. And you could have the child's name embroidered on it. Mm-hmm. So I went through my list and I picked 20. I'm going to get 20 people that have kids between the age of 2 and 10. I think that's or 2 and 9. I don't know the age group I picked. And then all the cards said was boo. Well, I sent that to the clients, obviously around Halloween. And then I got photos sent to me with their children all dressed up with their little pumpkin with their candy in it. And they're like, oh my gosh, Sean loved his pumpkin. And they were sending me photos of their kids on Halloween trick-or-treating. So that's what I talk about, the connection, between doing something and thinking of people. They're like, oh, that's so thoughtful.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are the things I'm online. Just go online and say, what can I see and find. And when you're out, how many people are online shopping anyway? So you come across something that either you want for your own children or your own self or your own dog or your own cat, then think, oh, well, is this something that would have meaning to some of my clients?
So here's a question, something that would have meaning to your clients. I'm leading the witness now, but what about when things like kids go back to school? What do you do for that?
Oh, so I came across once this company, which I can share with everyone online, and they do custom candy bars, chocolate bars. And I was selling a townhouse, and you don't have this image of this. The first one I ever did was a townhouse, and it had an image of the townhouse, and the address of the townhouse was embedded in the chocolate bar. And I sent it out to all the other townhouses, and I said, so many postcards, so little chocolate. And I got such a great response from that, because it's funny because everyone sends postcards, real estate postcards.
Well, let's show them the turkey, and then let's show them the one for school, because you've got so many turkeys, so little chocolate.
Yeah.
So let's show everybody that, and then let's run through, because we've got about 15 minutes. I want everybody to see your ideas that we're going to share now that they've seen all the gifts. But right here, we've got, first of all, everybody, we're looking at the Thanksgiving little box. It's very similar to what you did the anniversary box in, but it's just a very small box that you would put a gift card in it, but instead you have this really cute message.
And it's a chocolate, and in the chocolate inside the chocolate bar, when you open it up, it said, I think this one said grateful. It was Thanksgiving. It was grateful. And
on
then
the outside the wrapper, everybody says, so many turkeys, so little chocolate, Vickey Barron. And then you open it up and the chocolate bar says grateful.
Yeah. And then on the outside, it has images, drawings of different turkeys and how a turkey is kind of put together, all the parts of a turkey. So
this is the kind of stuff, everybody, no real estate agent shares these secrets. These are like, nobody can know this ever. This is incredible. So thank you for sharing all of this with us. This is amazing.
You're welcome.
And then let's do the
back to school. Yeah, is the school bus, and it says back to school. There are two different wrappers because there are 2 different years that I did these. So I didn't want them to look the same, obviously. But it says summer fun has come to an end, but don't be sad because chocolate we send. Hope you have a wonderful school year. Best, Vickey and team. So, and then life and real estate and school are better with chocolate.
I love that, because life and real estate is your
my tagline.
And then you put and school in parentheses.
Yes.
Or better with chocolate. So yeah. I love it. All right. So in all of this, we're going to go over kind of your tips every month of what you recommend. And do you have a story for us before we segue to that on like how you came up with this list or how this evolved? Because obviously there's some passion, but again, reinforcing mindset of listening to your clients and getting in front of them in such a powerful way, no matter what your personality is. For you,
yeah, I think how I function is, my mother always said this, like everyone's going left, you go right. And because
that's why we get along, Vickey.
Because so many realtors do the same thing. And I get bombarded, my mailbox, they all look the same. I swear I'm dying to get on Saturday Night Live and just do a whole skit on postcards, because you mix them all together with Bed Bath & Beyond and Staples, and they all look alike, the penthouse and the mansion down the street and Bed Bath & Beyond, all of them kind of blend in, and nothing stands out. So I thought, maybe if everyone stops sending postcards tomorrow, I'd probably hop on the postcard wagon. But, you want to stand out. So maybe that's why I don't give closing gifts, because they're expected. I like the unexpected. So they're not expecting, a scarf with piano keys on it, on March the 3rd. They're not expecting that. They're not expecting candy bars for their kids when it's school time. So when they get these things, it just makes them remember you, and it's in a thoughtful way. But it can't be, you have to really do it from your heart, and it has to be fun for you, and you have to want to do it. If it becomes, I don't know how to say it, it's
like there's a system to it, but if it feels too much like that's what it is,
I expect nothing from this. Like, I did not do this thinking, oh, I know if I spend time and start doing this, and they're going to call me and I'm going to get business. Never is the thought of getting business in any of this. It's like I always say, I make a decent living working for free. So when you give first, and you come from the mindset where you're just giving and serving and thinking of other people and being present and being real and authentic, then they will remember you. It's like at an open house. If you're authentic and you're really listening and caring about them, you don't need to follow up and chase them. They will find you and they will call you because you stand out from the other 10 they just met throughout the day.
And you have a team too, I would wait to you, what you just said. If you are thoughtful and you listen, it's amazing that you stand out. And here's the thing. And if you're not standing out, perhaps you're not, because this is a self-awareness check, especially to new agents working with a lot of them. If you're not standing out, do a self-check on why. How am I going to listen better? How am I going to stand out in a way that it is authentic? Nobody wants to be salesy and gross. So find in this exercise, again, I've said this 5 times, but this exercise of gifting this way is a way to reinforce for yourself being in the state of mind, because state is everything. Being in the state of mind of listening and giving, and that offers so much value. So let's go through your list on everybody. This is Vickey's list. I'm sharing the screen for those of you who aren't watching, but we're going to go through it all. We've got months. We're starting with November, being that it is actually, by the time this releases, it won't be November, but we're going to start with November. It's at the top. And then we're going to go through September or October. Yes, October, of course, because there's 12 anyway. All right, so let's start. Let's just run through these. So November, number 1, we'll let you give these to us. So you've got 2 little ideas to remind yourself to do in November. They are.
Yeah, these are just suggestions. I mean, like, I'm a faucet that doesn't shut off, so I could come up with like 10 more, but I just thought, without boring everyone, obviously it's Thanksgiving. If you want to send just a card, you can do that. If you want to pick up the phone, but people are busy, so you have to be careful not to annoy them also. Mm-hmm. But I send, the chocolate bar. Or you can send an email to brokers and attorneys and managers and other business to business, thanking them. Just say, I want to take this moment to thank you because that transaction we did on Maple Street was so trying and you were so patient and so lovely. And I just want to say thank you. It's a good time to go through and just think of the people that you worked with through the year. And it's a good time to reach out and say thank you. So, I mean, you should do it every month, but Thanksgiving is a good time to just say, I wanted to reach out and say thank you.
And then December, obviously, holiday cards.
Holiday cards and or gifts. And this is the thing, you have to figure out a budget for the year. And if you have a smaller budget, you can do one of 2 things. You can either do something massive on a cost basis, small scale, or you can do something more elaborate and just narrow down the list. So if you want to say, I'm going to just take my top 15 clients that I would love to nurture and keep them close to me and hopefully get referrals from them and they don't forget who we are, then take them and just focus and say, and don't have analysis paralysis, just do it. Just pick the 15 people and say, I'm going to budget in 2022 and I'm going to send something to them thoughtful and connect with them 3 times throughout 2022.
Isn't it amazing how much more you can get out of 15 people focusing on 15 than say 1,000 or even 100?
And what I don't understand is the agents that just spend money and energy and time mailing to all these buildings and houses that they don't know the people. So it's like, dear resident, and they're sending stuff. But what about, John and Mary Blackstone that you actually sold a house to? They don't hear from you. It's bonkers. So let's go January. Obviously, Happy New Year. If you send a Hanukkah or a Christmas card, do not send a Happy New Year's card. They're way too close. So pick one, whichever you decide. It's also good to send an end of the year wrap up, on the market. You can do that. That's a nice thing. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention, as you send these fun gifts and stuff throughout the year, you must be sending data and real, like, they can't just think you're a gift center. They have to also understand that you've got your finger on the pulse of the market and you understand what's happening in the market and the industry. So that should be going out somewhere. You can't just send chocolate bars and cats and dog biscuits, because
then you're just somebody trying to be a real estate agent, and you're nice, and that's all you are, which doesn't go far. And that goes back to, it's about trust, and how are they going to trust you? You've got to know your stuff, and you've got to be listening. If they know, and they know you're listening, that creates the trust.
Yes. And then February is fun, obviously Valentine's Day. I once had, by the way, I realized a lot of my clients I was selling and buying apartments for were single. And I thought, you know what? Like-minded people refer like-minded people. So they were all amazing. And I thought, what if I just put them in a room together? If anything, it's an icebreaker. They can all talk about real estate. But so I sent out an invitation. It was done in February. And I had got this large apartment donated, and I catered it. And we had 67 people come to the event. It was a blizzard outside. And it was hilarious because I say, look, they may not hold your hand and walk through Central Park, but I can promise you they've all bought real estate. They have a good credit score and they're not wanted by the FBI. That's all I can promise you. But they showed up and it was a great hit. It ended up in so many, I got phone calls from people in other states saying, how do I get invited to your event? But anyway, that was a fun thing.
I love it. I love that. We're actually doing, anyway, it's exciting, but it's that we didn't know. Now I know what to do. Thank you.
You're welcome. March. And also, wait, another one I did once is I did a heart-to-heart quiz on Valentine's Day, which cost nothing. And then I said, over the, time we spent together, I know so much about you. Really, we know everything. We know their 401k.
Brilliant.
We know everything. So I did a quiz about me and it was hilarious. So I got emails back saying, I had no idea you played the accordion. It was funny. I was carjacked. That was in there. They're like, you were carjacked? I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Oh no, you can't bring that up because we only have literally like 10 minutes because my husband was actually carjacked too, but 10 years ago. I didn't know him yet. So 20 years ago. Yeah. I'm glad you made it out.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. It was, we'll have to share that because it's an unbelievable. Mine could have been on Jerry Seinfeld, honestly.
Did you sell him a house? Can you give us the short 30-second or maybe like 30-second story? Because everybody's hanging now. And then we're going to get to March. It could have been a Jerry Seinfeld episode. Should we leave it at that? We're going to do another one of these together, I have a feeling. So when we do, I'm happy to share it because it honestly is the craziest story and it is pretty funny. And fortunately it's funny because I'm alive, but the whole thing is just horrifying, kind of, probably, I would think.
Yeah.
All right, let's get through because we've still got about 6 more months. I don't know the numbers, 7 months to go. So March.
Yeah, just update your closing list for anniversary cards, review responses from new marketing efforts and adjust future mailing list accordingly. So March is kind of a month to get yourself organized.
And being like everything you're doing is so engaged with your client. That's what I love about this. It's engaged. It's not just something you're spitting out at people. You're listening and engaged.
Yes. Yeah. And then obviously April, Easter, Passover, whatever, and try to be creative. And if you're not creative, just get a card, go buy the card that you think fits them.
And remember, this is for just a few people each time. It's not, you're hitting people with this stuff. I say hitting, but touching people with this stuff 3 to 4 times a year.
Correct. Yeah.
Mother's Day card, of course.
Father's Day cards. Yeah.
Father's Day for June. July, a summer wine tasting. Love that one.
Yeah. Just do a summer wine tasting, your closest clients, or, your agents that you want to, say thank you to.
You know what? Good point, everybody. Remember, agents make our business. They really do. And it's not a waste of time or money to do something special for the agents you love to work with most.
Yes.
August.
It really is.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And when you hear about an agent that's done something extraordinary, like they just sold something that's off the chart, or you heard, like, send them a note and say, congratulations, you knocked it out of the ballpark. That was amazing. When they get that, they're like, that was so nice. I have nothing to do with the transaction. I didn't bring the buyer. I didn't sell it. I didn't make a dime off of it, but I'm noting and noticing what a great job you did.
Well, not
People
only
don't
that,
take the time to be nice. They take the time when they're angry and mad. They'll call you up and scream at you because you were late or you did something that they didn't like. But why not take the time to say, I thought that was pretty awesome what you did.
Exactly. And how about, I think so many in our business, it feels so competitive. I don't imagine in New York City, it especially feels competitive. But when you take the time to realize, remember, it took me a little too long, or it took me longer. It was probably over a decade in the business to realize, in the beginning, I thought every listing should be mine. And then one day I thought, when people would bypass me or do things I thought I should have done, I thought, wait, that is something that should be inspiring me. That's an example of them, why not me? And learning, which led to this podcast, learning about, and being happy for them.
Yes.
As well, because that's what, and that actually because otherwise you're in a scarcity mindset, which kind of goes to nothing but more scarcity.
Yes. Abundance, abundance, abundance.
So August.
Yeah. Compile a list of closing dates and start sending out the anniversary cards, send monthly. This is something, the anniversary cards, you can make them ahead of time, because look, if you just sold someone something November the 11th, their anniversary is going to be November 11th, 2022. So you can make it ahead of time. I actually have a file cabinet that with each month, and you make them ahead of time, and then they're ready to go. You can just add a little note or signature to it. But yeah, you can.
And then we've got September.
Yeah, September is fun because it's kind of, back to school. And also, even if people don't have children, it's kind of the summer's over, you can get creative. And then October is fun because I think no one is expecting anything from their real estate agent on Halloween.
So what a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Vickey, that's what a great, everybody, again, we're going to share this on your blog post for this interview, which is going to be Vickey, Vickey Barron, Barron, 2 JereMetcalfPodcast.com. Now we're going to take 5 minutes to close out, and we're going to come up with a final 3, because we end every show with a final 3 questions. The first question is easy. What is the most resourceful tool that you use to keep this running consistently? Your gifting.
The tool is usually the tool is I find something that I'm passionate about, and then I buy them. So now I own them. I have to do something with them. I'm not going to sit with 48 cats on my dining table. They've got to go out. I'm not.
That's a tool. Actually, yeah, buy them And then you
Yeah.
got to do, like, there's your
gotta
accountability
do it.
right there. Your accountability right there. Now, number two, normally the question is, give us a book. There's not a book, or maybe there's a book, but for you, is there something that you can say, a person or an example, or if there's a book that inspired you or kind of honed your skill and mindset of being and doing things like this?
Well, after the fact, I read, there are two different books that I think I recommended on the last podcast that we did, the Referral of a Lifetime. And on this one, I think I added it again, along with, I think, The Go-Giver in there.
Yes,
And both of those, The Go-Giver and Referral of a Lifetime, speak to, it speaks to being thoughtful and authentic. And also, like, here, I just thought about this book. So it's in the paper. So it's Neil Patrick Harris.
Wait, hold it up a little higher so we can see it. I can only see the top. So Life Party. Oh, Life is a Party.
Right.
I love the name, David Burtka. So what is this? Life is a Party.
David Burtka is Neil Patrick Harris's partner, husband. He published this book, which is amazing, about how to entertain, because we're selling their townhouse, and it's all set up for entertainment and telling a story and the experience. So I got this book and I thought, I am going to buy a bunch of these books and send a little note to all my clients that I know that love to entertain. And so I called David and I said, David, I love your book. I'm going to send it to my clients, and just with a little note, how great is this book? Now, I'm not going to say when I send it, oh, I have, their townhouse for sale. It's not going to be an infomercial. It's not going to be, oh, call me about the market.
It'll just like coupon on the book before you send it. Don't do that.
It's just a nice little, it helps him. And I think it's great. So it's sharing. Sharing is caring. If you find something that you like and you want to share, then you do that. Here, I'm making right now, I'll show you this. This is show and tell. These are some of my clients have given me their, when they're moving, they all want to purge and like get rid of things. So I like textiles. So I've collected a lot of men's ties over the years. So these are all men's ties that have been cut.
How fun.
So they're all.
Hi, everybody.
I'm like, Valentine's Day.
Huh? My kids are doing that. Either my kids are doing that, or I'm going to contract you out since your time's not valuable. That's time consuming. But that's one of those things, like taking your job and taking your outlet and like leveraging them for one another, kind of.
Right.
I love that. And how personal. Okay, last question. In all of this gift giving mindset shifting, it's the little things that make the big things happen. From our conversation today, what do you hope everybody takes away if they don't remember anything else?
The one thing they should take away is remembering to connect and care about the client after the closing.
3 C's: connect and care after the closing.
Correct. So otherwise, obsess not about opportunity, but about the client.
Robert Refkin's going to have a fit when he hears that. Okay.
Why? Is that
That's one of the compass? Yeah, one of his things. It's number something. Obsess about opportunity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He'll be okay with it. But really, that's a great point. Obsess about your client. I love that.
That is the opportunity. Yeah, your opportunity grows when you obsess with the client. You're obsessed taking care of them. You're not obsessed with what they can give you. You're obsessed with what you can give them. If there's real quick,
what you just said, do not lose your thought. But everybody, what Vickey just said, replay 5 times, 8 times, so you'll remember. That was beautiful. But go ahead. Yes, please.
A woman once said to me, she was single, and she said, I'm looking for a man that wants to go to museums and that will make me laugh, and that he will take me traveling, and I don't know, she had a whole list. And I stopped and I looked at her, I said, well, what are you doing for him? It's interesting. Like she didn't say, I want to find a partner that we can laugh together and that I could cook for and that I can make laugh. She was wanting him to make her laugh, him to go to her museums, him to do everything for her. But it's like, well, what are you doing for him? And it's the same thing. The client it's not what you can do for me, but we are in a position of serving other people. So what can we do to better serve the client?
Exactly. And I cannot help but add to that. So being from Atlanta, for those of you who know Tyler Perry, he used to be Medea, and he used to have plays. He was literally living out of his car before he made it big. And now he's Hollywood, LA used to kind of make fun of him, I believe. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong about that. And now he's huge. So he just started Pinewood Studios. I mean, anyway, in what he does, hang on a second. So anyway, Tyler Perry, this is relevant to relationships, to business, and what you just said. He's got a clip. And literally, I think about the time this was done, he didn't have any movies. He's Medea. Medea goes to jail, or if you know any of the Medea movies. So anyway, this was before then, when he literally gave the wisest advice ever, except he was a she in the play. But it was about relationships. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it's let them go. But the line in there, he says two things. He talks about in relationships, and I say this is in business, this is with clients, this is with people. He said, when you're alone, why do you ask yourself, I can do the Medea, except I won't. Why do you want to find yourself a husband? Why do you want to find, this is your time to work on you. This is your time to be who you want to be with. And as real estate agents, when you don't have that client, this is your time to be that agent that you would want to hire if you were that client that you want to hire you.
Correct. Yes.
So I will be sure.
And ask yourself, would you hire yourself? What would you want? We're all, really seriously, if you don't take yourself that seriously and the focus is, it's just like in the acting school. Like if you're worried, if you're in your own head about your lines and what you're memorizing your script, then you're not present. You cannot be there to really respond to the other person. Well, there's no difference if you're sitting in a living room on a pitch and all you're doing is an infomercial talking about your stats, and you want to make sure you get all this data out there and make yourself look good. You're missing the whole opportunity to know who's sitting across the table from you. So
what a special opportunity it is. I mean, looking back, what a privilege we have in our business to work with the people and become friends. I think of the friendships that we would have never had.
Exactly. It's so true. And we learn from them. I learned from a lot of my clients. They're 50 times smarter than I am. I watch them and wow, they're amazing. So I just feel I'm grateful and honored that they choose me to work with them and I can help them get to the finish line. So that's what it's about. It's getting them to the finish line and having them enjoy the process and not torturing them along the way. That's always helpful.
Beautifully said. Vickey, thank you so much for another great interview. It was so awesome to have you. Vickey Barron in New York City with Compass, and talk about engaging with people and your clients. What great tips and lessons.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me again. And I can't wait to see you again. And we'll talk about the carjacking stories.
I can't wait.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. If you like this episode, please share it with friends. To find more episodes, search Jere Metcalf Podcast on any platform for podcasts. or go to JereMetcalfPodcast.com. That's JereMetcalf podcast.com.